happening out there, folks? How's it going? This is Tom Fridley, and you're listening to the Movie Raid.
It's time for the Movie Raid, and tonight's victim is actor Tom Fridley. Films like Face Off to Friday the 13th, Jason Lives. Hello.
Hey, man, what's going on, brother?
Fantastic, man. What have we been up to lately? Any projects or any other things outside of the film world that you're working on right now?
Oh, God, dude. A bunch of stuff like that, absolutely. I'll tell you something that's really remarkable that I will have to share with your audience is that I think I sent you a link to this, but something that changed my life immensely. I don't know whether or not any of your audience ever gets like, people get depressed, they get down and out, and their bodies don't feel right, they don't feel like, 100%. And every once in a while, you feel incredible in the middle of the day. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, like, you could conquer anything. I'll tell you what, a buddy of mine, he's been 25 years in the making. He did this. I just want to lay this out there. There's a thing called, he called me up the other day. He goes, "Hey, Tommy, listen, well, it's been 6 months ago." He goes, "I got something that you're going to be just amazed by. And it's a company called Euphoria." And he started, the CEO called me. And I said, "So what's the deal?" He said, "Listen, this is, they did all the DNA stuff for, like, to find out where you came from and all that stuff. But this is a trip, Mike." He called me and he said, "This is DNA for all the nutrition that your body needs." And he started to school me on this thing. There's a thing called SNPs. For anybody who looks this up, they have the 18 SNPs that are in your body that can actually be affected by nutrition and stuff. And that's what he told me. He said, "This is like," it blew me away. So what happens is you do a swab on the side of your cheeks and you send it in, and all of a sudden you get this 35-page report back that shows you where your weaknesses and your strengths are. And what's happened is to your door you get delivered this nutrition. Now you realize this: every single person in the world has a different DNA, so everybody has a different formula. So anyway, so I said, "I want you to check this out." So I did it. I did the swab thing and it sends back, and I find out I have a weakness in detoxing, which was interesting. So I thought, example, let's say if me or anybody in your audience went out, we all just drank a 12-pack of beer or did whatever, I would feel crappier longer than they would if they didn't have this. So long story short, I started feeling unbelievable, man. I'm telling you, the way that I felt physically after this was just remarkable. I didn't have that waves of up and down energy to go back and forth. I didn't wake up in the morning and feel like I don't want to get out of bed. And all of a sudden, I have a pretty good set of hair, but also my fingernails started growing faster. My hair started thickening up. I was probably 10, 12 pounds overweight. It just went away. Within the month, it cleans your colon out. It does all this stuff. It was remarkable. So if you want to know what I was doing, I got completely involved in this company. And I sent a link. I hope you'll send it out there so the listeners can check it out if they want. There's videos on it and all that stuff. But I can't even tell you what a difference that made. So what that leads to is this: I was writing a script and working on a project, and I started kind of going, I don't know how you get just you procrastinate. Unless you have a partner you're writing with, nobody there to kick you in the butt and say, "Keep writing." I got up in the morning. After a week of this, and I just started going. I was day after day after day, and I completed it. What was going to take me a year and a half to do, I did in 3 weeks. That's how it led to that. So now that's what I'm doing right now in my life, is just living as healthy as I can. It's phenomenal how well this works. Oh, that's the end of that. So any questions you got on me, go for it.
Well, that's really cool, man. I'm very happy that you're being healthy, you're up and about, and being positive about it. That's all you can.
Yeah, well, you're looking at it too, Michael, because everybody's got depression runs rampant. Like I said, they poison our water and our air and everything coming down on us is always we're on the processed foods. Here's my advice to anybody who's listening: if it's advertised on television, you see a commercial about a food, you shouldn't eat it. As much as it might be tempting at 2 in the morning or whatever, but anything that you see advertised, they have the money to advertise on that. That's corporate. They got food that's not good for you. And at the end of that story, that's why there's so much obesity in the United States.
From someone that has been in this film industry, do you think that over the course of your career, does the industry forcibly shape you as an artist and an actor, or do you actually shape yourself to whatever the industry changes?
I can help you with the answer to that. Here's the thing: the first job I ever did was the pilot of Fantasy Island. So that goes back to 1978. I think I was 11 years old or 10 years old when I did that. And here's the way that the industry works: you're basically the victim of whatever parts are being written, and your agent calls you and you go in for an interview, and then if you do well, then you get a second call back, and then if you do well on that, then you go, and then they'll have the producers and stuff will say, "Okay, you got the job." Sometimes you can do it on the first interview. Other times it'll go 2 and 3. If it's a big film, it can go 4 and 5. Tell the producers, director, all they go through. You go through all this stuff to get a part. But the thing is that part, since you didn't write it for yourself, you're having to turn yourself into whatever you view that character as being. As you progress more and more, you get to where after a while, after probably 8 or 10 years, I remember getting offers. After I did Friday the 13th, the producer of that, he was at Paramount. He called me and said, "We're doing Friday the 13th, a series for television." He just gave me the pilot. He said, "I want you to do it." So I didn't have to interview for anything. So then all of a sudden you're just given things. But when you become a really big person, you become a really big celebrity, then what happens is you're sent scripts, and you just pick from which one you want to do. You don't have to interview for anything. You're just "Okay, I'll do this." And people are begging you, because the truth is this: if you can make money, if there's money to be made on your name, then they give you more and more power. And that's why sometimes people abuse it. So I would say from where I was at, like, it kind of like, you just become like a puppet of whatever they needed, whatever they're needing you to do. You just become, that character that they're doing. But then later, if you really want to be in control, you could write something. Take Mel Gibson with the horses, and he was back in the Irish shoot, was it Braveheart. He wrote that, directed it, and started it. There's no more control you can have than that. And he did a brilliant job at all three of the things. I'll tell you what, you go in a lot of interviews and you don't get the part, realize this. If you sold, let's say you went door to door selling vacuum cleaners, if somebody said, I don't want the vacuum cleaner, they don't want the vacuum cleaner. But when you're going selling yourself, after a while, the rejection can really kind of beat you down. You're going, wow, they don't want me. They don't want me. They don't want me. Well, you got to realize it's not you. It's just that whatever you interpreted, that character to be, and a casting director on a bad day, you may look like a girlfriend or boyfriend that they used to have. And all of a sudden, like, you don't even get to go on a second callback just because of that. So there's all these things about, it's like the universe. It's like when you're in the right place at the right time, it makes a big difference. But not quitting is the biggest thing. Do not quit. If you have a passion for it, just keep going and going, because plenty of other people will quit. Pretty soon you will come to the top, and then there you are. And that will be the choice that they'll make. But you can be in control of that if you want. And when you become a big star, you're totally in control of it. You pick or write or do whatever you want, and then you do what you feel comfortable and the most talented at.
Oh, definitely. It can be like personal conflict. Some actors take it as a personal thing for some reason, but it is a job. It is a part of whatever it is that you're trying to go for. And as far as recognition, as far as all this stuff in between, how do you define between reaching a goal and actually succeeding as a task?
You just take your day. So a lot of people, if they don't have a plan and they just kind of like wallow around, and they kind of have like a dream of this and that, and they just keep watching day to day. Here's the easiest thing, and it doesn't cost anything. Get yourself a pen, a pencil, and a piece of paper, and write a freaking list down, man. Write a list of what your goals are the next day, or for that day. But here's the thing is, do not write more. Well, you can write a bunch up, but don't give yourself a goal that's unattainable for the day, because you could attain, let's say you put 5 goals up for the day, you do 3 of them, and then you feel like a failure. No, you go realize something. Put 1 up for the day. When you conquer that thing, then you can feel like you accomplished it. Then you can add and add to it and know what you're doing, because you got to get that momentum going to where you feel good about yourself. You feel like, hey, I can get something done. For this is me personally, my memory is like, I'll just wallow around the whole day and just jack the day off and it's done. And all of a sudden, like, wow, man, how good. In the day that goes, God, the day just slipped away because I didn't have any sort of thing. As much as a list is a huge thing to do it, and but you have a passion for what you set your goals at. If it's going to be something you want to do for the rest of your life, and you won't quit. You don't. If you have a real passion for it, and don't let anybody tell you you can't, and don't listen to other people, and don't necessarily, unless it's somebody you love that loves you and supports you and really wants to see you do well, do not tell people what your dreams are, because they will try and shut you down. And that's been my experience a lot. Here's another rule: hang out with people that are surviving better than you are, because you can learn something from them. It feels good to go out and find somebody who's really got no money, no nothing, because it makes you feel good, but you'll grow not at all. You'll get no better. You just temporarily makes you feel better because you're doing better than that person. But don't, and helping other people is a huge thing. If you feel down and you're down, I'm telling you, man, make it a point. Go and volunteer yourself for a second, as much as it feels like, screw that, I'm not doing that. You go do it, you won't believe. It's a natural, it's the feelings of I don't know whether it's dopamine or what gets released in your system, but all of a sudden you go home and you just can't realize how much better you feel about yourself. And it's very addictive, and a good addiction to have is helping other people.
It is, and especially when it comes to even the film industry being so harsh as it is, no matter how many years, how many decades, how many millenniums go by, it does get hard.
It's as good as your last job, brother. It was as good as your last thing, unless, I was just talking about this morning with my buddy. You take Melissa McCarthy, who was shot down, and all of a sudden she got big and did her own thing, and then she just said, screw everybody. She produces her own stuff. She's like her own inside thing. So she could put 3 or 4 films out that didn't make it, and it's like she can survive that and do it. But sometimes it's like you're as good as your last movie. Even when you take like Tom Hanks or something like that, he was hit after hit after hit, and all of a sudden a few things Tom Hanks hasn't done anything lately. It's all of a sudden it's like he's not a guarantee hit. I mean, you're better off with take the guy who played in Thor, those movies. As Thor, he's a hit. It's a guarantee. But you take him off that, give him something else. Well, I'll tell you right now, people want to see him as Thor. He better be he's terrific. He's funny. He's got all that. He's a terrific guy. But he can't. It's weird. It's not a shoo-in. It's like every movie he's going to do is going to be success. People decide what they want you to do. For comedians, if they're not going to be funny, they're going to do something serious. It's really hard for them.
Especially if you're down on yourself trying to get work or your ability, having to give yourself out there as well as to other people. It can be very treacherous in terms of the psyche, trying to perform, trying to do all this and it's hard for these actors or other artists to get that kind of a therapeutic type of mentality, because all this stuff is weighing down them all at the same time within the industry. And do you think when it comes to a certain point in their career, where do you think they could actually say they have job security status?
Oh, good luck. Good luck. I'll tell you what, you want to know? I'll tell you what, here's the best job security that I found, like, in the film industry. This is something that's, like, it's on the lower levels of, like, what's considered to be, like, famous. I'll tell you what, the best thing, here's the way it used to go in LA. Like, if you wanted to buy a house, if you were under contract, like, if you had a sitcom or something going on, you could go to the bank with that. And then they're like, okay, they'd front you whatever money for your house. That's all you need a contract. But the best, most secure contracts I know are soap operas. I'm just telling you, it's not like thing, but there's people in soaps, man, they've been on those things for years and years. And, usually they'll get people that are like models, they're real handsome or beautiful girls or whatever, every once in a while. Some people can break out and go to film. I mean, like Tom Selleck did it, I think, from, with the Trans Am, that guy, David Hasselhoff was able to break out of that and then he did series. He was smart. But those are like really secure jobs. You get to be a regular on it. You can go. Some of these good people are making $3,000 or $4,000 a day, but that's 7 days or 5 days a week. You get a guarantee of 3 or 4 days a week. That's the most secure, constant job I've seen in the acting field. Like that goes on for years. You can do it for 30 years. That's probably the most secure. The movies, if you're handsome and all that stuff, and you start to lose that, then you better get used to playing fathers and things like that. I mean, take Tom Cruise. It's like he's got momentum like really like no other. He's got his certain things that he can go back to, the Mission Impossibles and stuff. And he's got certain series that he can go back to. But I mean, really, you bounce like a regular movie, there's no guarantee in either. People will wait for it to get on Netflix. So, but soap operas are really it's safe. Man, I'll tell you, that's a straight ass solid you go to work. It's great for you got to really have a great memory because that's an hour show every single day. A sitcom is a half hour and they do one a week, so they have a whole week to memorize. Get that down. So I mean, every hour. I lived with a girl I dated for years, Melissa Brennan, who's Melissa Reeves now, was on Days of Our Lives, and we were both working. And she'd go every night. She'd come up with an hour-long script. And I cue her and stuff. I thought, oh my god, it would take me days to remember what she had to remember in an hour. And she had a photographic memory, but she had security. She's still on that show today, and we were dating since 1985. She's been on that show.
And it takes so long to even get to that point, man. Because at some point, they're going to be looking more of an image than rather ability, despite that, because they want to shell that money out there, get it out there, get the product there, regardless of, okay, we're going to put them in there, and then this is how it's going to be done. And then to the point, you're not going to be able to use your ability as you've been doing throughout every other project that you've been trying to achieve for the last 20 years, trying to reach that status again. And now it's almost like you're slowly ticking back levels and gaining more levels.
Well, as a perfect example, my uncle's a perfect example. 3 of his movies, and I went and read for them, and he didn't know that I got them. There was no, none of the, because I know him or whatever. I never called, never asked him for anything. That's why my name just stayed exactly the same. Because my mother is Ellen Travolta, so my father's name was Fridley, so I'm Tom Fridley. So his career was a perfect example of it was dying and dying. And then when he got to Pulp Fiction completely brought him back up. Now he's a total 100% capable actor. The guy's got range out as good as anybody who's walking this planet. He got a bump, but he was going down. It's just like one of those things it's just you watch people's careers come up and down and up and down. And he was a great example of somebody who made a huge comeback out of that movie because it was just it was a cult classic and all that. He does hit movies, and then in between those hit movies nowadays, he'll do 4 or 5 movies you never even heard of that go straight to video. And then all of a sudden there'll be another one that'll come up big because as you get older, they're still looking for the young, the Thor kind of guys and stuff. It's they do the young. I'll tell you what, they have some movie stars that are like those things. They're usually have a shorter run because it's you only stay handsome, not good looking. I mean, even Brad Pitt, everybody ages it out, and then all of a sudden you don't have the teeny bop, you don't have that crowd of that heartbreaker thing. Because I mean, Brad and I would say he was 56, I think. He's about a year older than me. I used to see him in interviews all the time. It was just one of those things. It was I can't even tell you. The people that I used to go to interviews with every time, like Jim Carrey, there was people that we go, and you just wait for somebody to make their break. And when I left the industry and moved, all of a sudden that's the summer when Brad Pitt got Susan Sarandon and whoever it was. Brad Pitt did a movie. That was his big breakout. It was a week after I left, and all of a sudden he made it, and then he just bombed. He just kept going, and it was just, and he became this huge big movie star. Interesting the way things will, come and go, and they're more forgiving, and sometimes they're not. Some careers are more forgiving than others.
Definitely. How do you feel about with your career? Do you think some of these issues are going to continue to be new issues, and there's really no way of actually improving yourself and to avoid issues, even though you've been doing this for a little bit?
I mean, to be really honest with you, acting was something that came naturally to me. It's I never went to a class. I never did any of that. It was just I couldn't believe everybody just couldn't do it. It just was one of those things that was just natural. I could do it. And the truth is, I wanted, like, in the beginning, my first interview, I went into for Fantasy Island, and I go in there, and the guy asked me to cast me. He goes, so why do you want to be an actor? I said, I don't want to be an actor. I said, I want to buy a BMX bicycle. I want to race bicycles. So he laughed and all this shit, and he goes, like, all right. And I didn't even want to read for him. He goes, I'll tell you what, if I tell you you got the part, will you read with the girls that are going to be your sister? And he tricked me into reading. So then I read with, like, 5 girls. So he gave me the part. And I was ready for this. I don't do any acting for like a year. I got my bike, I got my thing, and did it. And also I come back, I'm like, shoot, now I want to be in this band. I want to be I want a PA system. I go back to the same casting director, and he said, so you want to be an actor? And I said, no, man, I want to be a rock star. I want to get a PA. And he starts laughing again. He goes, we got to read from this. I'm like, okay, yeah, I will. So Max Dugan Returns was the name of the movie. In that movie was Kiefer Sutherland, who, like, his father was in it too, and he took his lines away from him and gave them to the guy that was next to me. I don't know, Kiefer had like a really rough time with his father, to get off the country. Anyway, I do that, and then another 2 years go, and I decided I'm going to be an actor now. That's what I'm going to do for a living. And now, I'll tell you what, to get your first 2 parts, and then I got my 3rd and my 4th part. This is 4 interviews. That's unlike even heard of, to get all 4 interviews. Then after that, then I went on like tons and tons of interviews and didn't get them. As soon as I decided to make that a living and what I was going to do, it's funny. It's like when I didn't give a shit, I got them. And when I did care, all of a sudden it was like made it a lot more difficult. I think I've done over 50 projects between film and TV and commercials, so probably about 50. And it's really, music was always my thing. So that's the film I told you I was writing. If I can't be a rock star, I'll write myself a rock star.
Got a submitted question from Brent Vivian, who asks, do fans bring up Friday the 13th Part 6 or Summer Camp Nightmare when they meet you?
Both. Truthfully, both of them. It's amazing how Summer Camp Nightmare, it's like that became like a cult classic. It's crazy how many people that touched that movie. That's how I met the girl, Melissa Byrne, when it was a soap opera actress. That's how I met her on that film. She's in that movie, and then we became like boyfriend and girlfriend for 3 or 4 years. Most of Friday, because Friday was bigger, but anybody who knows me from Friday, like, no, it's like cult, like, those fans all just know everything he's done. I did that in another thing called Phantom of the Mall, which was just a ridiculous movie. But those are all 3 horror movies I did.
Playing as a victim, and not even a supporting role or minor role. It's like you're just playing the victim, maybe being notorious for just playing that on screen, and then like, oh wow, that's that one guy or that one girl that and then I think that's a fantastic recognition for some, even if it's a minuscule role, that getting that kind of recognition and having to continue to move forward. Even if you were to play another victim, the fact is people are recognizing what you were, and they're asking for autographs and stuff. And I think that's a great achievement.
But it's interesting you said that, because it's like, I mean, I'm humble in this way. When people compliment me and stuff, I can take a certain bunch of it. Then I get kind of embarrassed feeling. I'm like, okay, stop talking about talk about somebody else. Like, I don't want like that much notoriety for some things. But it's really interesting when I look at fan mail and stuff like that. That how much because Friday the 13th. It's funny that the one that I was in is a lot of people's favorites because it's kind of like comedic, and the director did a great job in making it kind of tongue in cheek. The thing is that their favorite scenes are ones that I improv, because I remember at the end of the film he had like 6 minutes worth of film left, and he's like, okay, and he said like, look, I'm just going to put you guys together and let's just do something because we got this film left, and maybe we'll use it. Okay, well, the scene with the kids where I did the thing with the Indian and the marker rock and all that was a total improv. He just threw me a rock. He goes, make something up, and we just shot it that way. We did it one shot, and it was like the last like 3 minutes or whatever he had left to film, and we just made that up, and I made it up, and he kept the whole thing. And that's so many people's like favorite scenes. But that was totally improv, just totally made up off the thing. That wasn't written at all, just made it up. I mean, like that second, just like here's this, let's do whatever you want to do. And I looked up at the kids, I was like, okay, it's great because you realize that's probably the most control I felt, because being an actor, here's your controlling factor. You got a director telling you where to stand and where to move. Then you got a writer telling you what to say. Then you got lighting people telling you where to move and stand. So basically, you're a puppet, and you're reading somebody else's lines. But when you get to improv something, there's something amazing about that, because it's like you're like on the quest of like creativity, because nobody's ever heard those lines. You haven't heard them yet. You don't even know what you're going to say. And then you say them, and then the kids react a certain way, and it all works. They had a camera on the ground pointing up to the kids, and then a camera pointing down at me. So they shot it at one time. So there was no like going back and doing it over again. Just say like, we got 2 things. I think they split the film in half or whatever they did, and just went. It's weird to make such big effects in small films. It is kind of a remarkable deal to just be able to make that big of an effect on people in such a small amount of time. You pointed it out. So I guess I'm just really fortunate.
Seeing that on screen, and then being asked to all these cons and other meetings and stuff like that, and getting media coverage and stuff. And it's not just like the fame, so to speak. It's the fact is that they recognize you for you. They're not just recognizing, this is the character. No, because it's what you brought to the character, and it's what you brought to the scene, and that's what really gained that recognition, because you brought you to the table and what you could add to that character.
For me other than being a little, he was just a little bit, probably his IQ was lower than mine is in real life. Like, you know, anybody that age. I guess I was playing, like, I think I was 21 years old, and I think I was playing, let's see, 21, I was probably playing like 18 or 19. And he was just kind of like the happy-go-lucky kind of, probably, I figured it was like a stoner kind of dude, and it was just like, you know, he was just trying to get laid like any other boy at 17 or 18, and doing that whole thing. You know, here's the funny thing, not many people know. Darcy, the girl that played that with me, Darcy and I went to junior high school together. Remember I told you earlier when we were talking before this interview, the majority of the kids in the industry then came from the San Fernando Valley. So I went to school with her, played a junior high called Milliken Junior High. Well, she was a year older than me, and she was beautiful, and she was like, oh man, she was the talk of the town. She didn't know who I was at all, but I knew exactly who she was. So I had a bit of bigger part than she did. So I'd been on set for a couple of days shooting other stuff, and all of a sudden it came to the scene where we had to do that thing in the motorhome. And I walk in, and I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, looked at me like, I have no idea who you are. And I'm like, Darcy? And she's like, yeah. And I had to remind her, because I went to Milliken with you. She goes, oh my God, I went to school. And I said, well, you know, you were a little stuffy. You were a little bit stuck up in that time. She goes, God, I so was. She goes, I'm sorry. I should have, like, no. I said, it's okay. You know, when you're 14, girls that are 16 are looking for, 15, looking for guys that can drive cars. And they're like, you know, in high school, not in junior high. So that's the kind of pickup thing. So anyway, we got to be really good friends. And we're really good friends now. We talk all the time. And she's like, you know, I got this event that we're going to do down in Tampa here in a few days. It was something that my agent, I was like, is Darcy going? He goes, well, I don't have any connections with Darcy. I'm like, well, give me the number. So I know that, so she could get on that. She was stuck, but she's a really sweet, really fun girl. So that's the idea that I went to school with her, and then had to lead up to her. And it was awkward all of a sudden how this girl you went to school with, I felt like a bud with her that she didn't remember, and then she's like jumping on top of my body. It was just a weird thing. Ultimately, it turned out okay.
Go and plug in any websites or anything that we can check out right now.
The websites, I mean, you can go to my Facebook page. Anybody goes to my Facebook page, I'll let them in if they want to do that by the end of the day or whatever. I'll go through and invite everybody in if they want to. Put that website up for the Euphoria thing. I'm telling you guys, whoever's out there listening to this, it is life-changing. You've never felt so good in your life. It's like, it's not your normal thing. This is made individually only for you. And there's something like 432 million different combinations because of people's DNA, but it's made exactly for you. And I'll tell you, if you've got anybody who's got genetics or cancer or any of the stuff that's like, it's been, you know, you're worried about that because your parents or grandparents had it or whatever, I'm telling you, this is something to help parents with, help you. I mean, my mother is like a totally different person taking the step. It's like, I can't tell you, she's 80 and she looks fantastic and does it, but her energy level, her mood is unbelievable. She's not like reacting. It's just funny. The things that normally piss people off, you go, oh, I don't want to talk to them about that. I talk to her about anything now, like nothing, like she just doesn't, I don't know, it's nice to not be able to have it so you just don't get mad about anything. And it's just an interesting thing that it does to people. But, you know, whatever it is that ails you, it fixes. It's unbelievable. So I highly recommend just check it out. Go look at that website and there's videos, I think, off there. You can look at some of the stuff that, like, just the presentations and stuff of what it's about. But it's really remarkable. So that's the one I'm most excited about. And we'll do another interview when I get this film thing all finished in the script idea.
Well, that's cool, man. Definitely look forward to it. And that is actor Tom Fridley.
Thanks, everybody.